everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Shared Screens podcast. I'm your host today, and I should probably introduce myself. I'm Alec Bobco, and I'm joined by LeighErin. How's it going?
Hey, good. It's been a wild weekend.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's that time of year again, at least for us here. We do some reaction content, so it's getting to be that busy time of year. So we're actually pre-recording this on Memorial Day, so it's probably gonna be a bit of a shorter episode, just to keep everybody on their time off, enjoying their holiday. But
yeah,
it's that time.
Rough.
Yeah.
For my job, we just had a huge convention that half of the company was out, so it was a weird week where we use Teamwork to track our projects, so we have late tasks and due to day tasks, and I had all these late tasks. I'm like, it's all on people that are at this showcase, so they're just gonna hang out until next week. And then Friday I was the first time I had to sit down and edit our D&D podcast, which if you haven't watched, go watch. It's a great introduction to Dungeons and Dragons with Dungeon Master Corey Freight. I was editing that, got that all edited into YouTube, and I don't know what happened, but it took it a full 24 hours to process.
YouTube is like that sometimes.
Full 24 hours for that video to process. It was infuriating.
Oh, believe me, when I was working on getting our Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom impressions podcast up, that was the night where YouTube was just shitting the bed. And it was that YouTube TV where people weren't able to watch the NBA playoff game. And literally I'm just sitting there watching, and that podcast is sitting there for hours at processing will begin shortly, but it never can. And here I'm like, okay, cool. So before I go to bed, I'll delete it and restart the upload. Happened to wake up during the middle of the night, checked it again, still same thing, sitting there waiting to begin processing.
That was the whole thing. So I edit on my desktop, obviously, which in my room. So it's 11:30 at night. I was like, I don't want to be up anymore. I'll leave my computer on. I will check it sporadically and I'm going to sleep. I woke up at Cleo demands breakfast at 5 in the morning. So I get up at 5 a.m. I go to feed her. I come back and I'm like, I'll just check it really quick and then I'll go back to bed. And I check it and it's still only at 50%. I was like, how the fuck is this possible? This has been on the whole time. How the fuck is this physically possible? And literally, that's why it didn't go up on Saturday, is because YouTube straight up, it was taking so long to process that I couldn't. And so it went up yesterday. And then while I'm sitting in our YouTube, creators do whatever they call that page, looking at all our videos, I'm just fucking around and looking at things and looking at our like to dislike ratio. And I learned that our video that is in the last couple of months, because I'm sure this is going to change with Summer Games Fest coming up, but in the last couple of months, our video that has the lowest like to dislike ratio, it's 49%, is the fucking short where I'm complaining about Lord of the Rings fans. And I saw that, it was honestly, this just proves my point. It just makes me more powerful because you're mad because I'm right. That just brought me a fun hit. And then yesterday I'm going to the gym, or I'm at the gym. I come out of the gym, one of my tires is completely flat. Oh. I was like, this is annoying, but what I'm thinking it's because of is I drove over a screw a couple of weeks ago, and so I brought it in and they patched it, and I went back on my merry way, and I'm like, fuck, the patch is leaking. I'll go fill it with air, I'll get home and I'll figure it out. I get to the gas station across from the gym. The car is vibrating as I try to drive it. It is I'm on the phone with Jordan, panicking. And I park and I start trying to fill my tire with air and it won't fill. Air is going in. I can tell the air is going in, but it's not filling. And I'm and I'm running my hand over where the patch is. It's not leaking from the patch. And I look down, and next to the rim, about an inch big, is this. It looked like it just split. And so air is just rushing out of it as I'm trying to fill it. And I was like, all right, I live less than a mile from here. I don't know how to change a tire. I have to just try to get it home and hope for the best. And Jordan was like, all right, I'm going to stay on the phone with you because God forbid you die. I can call someone and tell them where you are. Um, and so I'm trying to drive it home. My mom, the entire time I have been driving, since I used to live where it was really cold, she used to constantly be on me about checking my tires and making sure I'm like putting air in the tires. And she was like, you don't
Mhm.
want to be driving on the rim. It can really damage your tire. And I was like, what can driving on the rim really be? I learned yesterday. I learned what I full on
Yep.
got to a point where I was like, Jordan, I can't drive the car home. I have to pull over. And I'm on a road that has no shoulders, so I'm in a lane just next to the sidewalk. And I live in California where everybody's a fucking
Yep.
terrible driver. So I'm getting honked at. People are almost hitting me. My dad was like, okay, we have two options here. You can either call AAA or I can try to walk you through changing this tire.
Ooh.
And my experience with AAA is always that, like, no offense, AAA, I feel like they take 20 years to get there.
That's
And
just, yeah. I
at
think that's
this,
just one of those things. Like every insurance, when you're like kind of in that, like you're just on adrenaline, you're just stressed, and like it just feels like it takes forever.
yeah, and I was losing my mind because at this point now it is 12 p.m. and we have to record at 1 with a guest.
Oh
So it's not
yeah.
like one of those
Yep.
things where I can be like, hey, I'm going to be, however late, let's
Right.
push this
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, let me see if I can even get the spare tire out. I get the little things up in the back of my trunk. I
Mhm.
can't even get the thing that has the tools in it out. It is so heavy
Oh
and I'm like
no.
too short to get leverage over it.
Hmm.
And so I was like, yeah, I got to call AAA. I hang up with my dad, call AAA. Their original projected time for when the AAA guy was going to get there is 12:55.
Oh
And I was like, oh,
jeez.
good. I'm going to sit on the side of the road for an hour. I'm going to get hit if this happens. And so my dad was like, oh, go on their little like web thing. I go on their web thing and they were like,
Mhm.
where are you? And I mark where I am. And immediately it's like, they'll be there in 5 minutes. And then
Oh,
this,
that's
God
awesome.
bless this man, but this guy rolls up, changes my tire, my completely destroyed tire. He was like, did
Hmm.
this blow out while you were driving? I was like, no, I thought I could get it home. I make poor choices when it comes to cars sometimes. It was so bad. It was so bad. And now I'm on the spare, which is a weird experience. I've never driven with a spare
Oh
before.
yeah.
I don't
Yep.
enjoy it. And I just have a giant tire in my trunk, just chilling until
Hmm.
I can go
Yep.
back and get my tires replaced. And I'm on the phone with my dad driving home, and he was like, I'm going to bum you out even further because I'm going to let you
Tires
know
are expensive.
tires are expensive and you can't just buy one. I was like,
Yep.
why? Why can't I just buy one? He goes, they won't do it. Like, they won't sell you just one. They
Because
will
then
either
it's
try to
the
sell you.
traction.
Yeah. And he was like, they will either try to sell you the whole car because you've never had your tires replaced, or at the very least, they're going to make you replace the front too. And I was like, great, sick, sick.
Yeah.
I
Nope.
love that.
Honestly, I went through a very similar experience. Maybe anywhere between the last 2 to 4 years. I don't remember exactly when it happened, but very similar. Like, I had a leak in my tire. I kind of knew that, but it was just one of those, like, just fill it up every so often, like every week or so, and you're fine.
I did that with the screw for like 2 weeks. I
Hmm.
was like, this is acting as a plug until I can get to a tire place. I'm just going to
Yep.
refill it every couple of weeks.
Yeah. So I'm driving home one day, just, no big deal. I'm honestly like, and this was back when I was living with my parents, so I had
Mhm.
like an hour commute one way, and I'm literally like 90% of the way home. Like,
Mhm.
I'm literally just have a couple more roads left, and maybe 10 minutes left on my commute. I go and I'm like, I hear a sound as I'm driving. I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound good. And I keep driving, and I get to this intersection, and I turn, and I'm like, and then I hear my car, like, I kind of feel it like dip
That
down.
it's the car is suddenly not even anymore on the
Yeah.
dash, and it's like,
Yep.
ooh, this is bad.
Yeah. And so much so, I actually hear scraping, and that is the rim driving on the road.
Mhm.
So literally call my parents, and I'm in a spot that I don't have the best cell service too. On top of that, so I am able to get a hold of them. They tell me, okay, you can either you could replace it right there, but I'm kind of in a similar spot, like a country road, middle of
Mhm.
nowhere, so there's basically no shoulder, and
Yeah.
it's pretty close to a curve. So I'm like, I could see a dirt road up here a bit. I'll just go up there. unfortunately drive on the rim a bit, but
Yeah,
at
I
least
will
get on
just
that dirt road. So
the
that way
rim has
there's
got to
like,
take it, you know.
exactly. And it's one of those more, I'm just getting off to the side of the dirt road just so I have room to actually change a tire, which I've never changed a tire like on the side of a road before. So
Yeah.
a pretty new experience. Like I actually get the book out, and because where I'm at, I'm like just a little ways off the road, but
Mhm.
because in the country, cell service is so hit or miss sometimes. Like I'm just kind of in one of those spots where you go a mile off the a bit off the road, the main road. There's just no service,
Yeah.
so I'm legitimately there by myself. Like
This is
in
where I die. This is where a serial killer finds me and my life ends.
mm-hmm. Not quite that bad because like I know I'm in a deep good area, but it's one of
Mhm.
those like, well, guess I'm here. I can't call my parents for help, but they eventually they did tell me like, hey, we'll come. Like they knew where I was, so because they had to go get my sister's car
Mhm.
that was in the shop. So
We'll just swing by and get you. It'll be fine.
yeah, basically. And so I'm like, I'll keep working at this, just keep giving it a try. And the thing that I hate about the replacing it yourself is that they give you the tiniest jack to like get the lug nuts out.
Mhm.
So or the lug nut wrench, and you can't get any leverage. So I'm literally like, it's I'm not kidding. It was literally like that big,
Yeah.
and I was at one point I literally had to like use my shoe and like I had my hand on like the hood of my car and like stepping on this just to get some more leverage.
That's what Jordan was saying too, where when I was on the phone with him, he was like, I love you so much, and I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm not trying to say girls can't change tires. You're not going to be able to get the lug nuts off. He goes like, I
Yeah.
struggle to get the lug nuts off, and I'm taller than you. Like, you're just not going to get any
Mm-hmm.
leverage.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, because it's literally the tool they give you is not. It's meant to be used like for those extreme situations. So, but
Yeah.
it's like it's only like pickup trucks that give you the full size thing, not
Mhm.
most cars, which is kind of the opposite you would think.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the opposite, but like you would think because they know that's just physics. You need
Yeah.
leverage to be able to get the lug nuts off. So it's like, why do you give me this tiny little thing?
It feels like you're teasing me. It feels like you are forcing me to feel inadequate, that I don't know
Exactly.
what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which
So
is
that
just
was. Mm,
like I looked at those tools, I was like, I know the jack. I don't know what half this other
mm-hmm.
shit is in here for.
Well, that's same with me. It's like I'm literally like reading through the book that tells you like following step by step how to change a tire.
That didn't even occur to me to like open my car's mint. Truly didn't
Mm-hmm.
even cross my mind to like look in that book.
That
My dad always has to be like, well, have you looked in the manual? I'm like, no.
my dad's literally done the same thing. That's the only reason I thought because he's always drilling into me. It's like look at the manual. It's like what
Yeah.
does it say? So it's like all right.
And this is like the first car I've had that isn't kind of a piece of shit. Like
Yep. Same.
I don't mean to talk. I loved my car that I had, my Buick LeSabre that I had in college was
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite cars, but I essentially what had happened was during high school, I took my dad to the train station to go down to Manhattan every morning and I drove that car. And
Mm-hmm.
then when I was graduating, like getting ready to go to college, my uncle was moving to Alaska and he was like, I can't bring my Buick Century to Alaska. Like that's just not physical. I just have to buy a new car there. It's fine. Um, Pay me like $2,000 or whatever, something super cheap,
Yeah.
and LeighErin can have the car. Um, and so I get the car. It is a week before my high school graduation. I am driving from I just was like filling out paperwork for my summer job that
Mm-hmm.
summer. And it was in an office, so I had to go that did like healthcare stuff. So I had to go get a TB test, all that stuff. I'm driving back down towards my high school graduation rehearsal. And there's a school bus, not in my lane on the other side, but I don't know if this is where you live, but in New York, if a school bus is stopped with the little sign out, all 6 lanes of traffic have to stop.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Just
to
2 lanes for us,
protect,
but yeah, because I was in the middle. I live in the country, in the middle of
yeah.
nowhere. So,
But all lanes, even if you're not going the same direction, have to stop.
yep.
I stop. Other people next to me, the first two cars next to me go, but whatever. The next two
Mm-hmm.
stop. We are all sitting. This asshole comes up over the hill going 80 miles an hour, tries to miss me, and that's the only reason I'm like alive, but hits the back part of
Mm-hmm.
my corner, hit my Buick Century so hard he knocked my rear suspension off of the axis so
Oh,
badly the car
jeez.
was totaled. Yeah, destroyed his car too.
Oh my gosh.
It's lucky he's not dead because he
Oh
went across
yeah.
3 lanes of traffic. If the
Jeez.
school bus hadn't been stopped, he would have died. But whatever. And I lost that car, and immediately, like, we just kind of took the insurance money and bought off this old man that was going in a nursing home. I don't even know if he
Mm,
was going in a nursing home, but it was like his kids were like, "You can't drive anymore," and so they were
mhm.
selling this Buick LeSabre. It had like bench seats like cars in the 70s did. The gear
Oh,
shift was up behind
nice.
the wheel. It had like wooden, those fake wooden paneling inside, and I
Mhm.
loved it, but it was a piece of shit. And so a lot of the time, my attitude towards my car was, I'm not looking in the manual because this probably isn't in the manual because this car is 20 years old and just falling apart.
Mhm.
It is holding on by its last leg. And so now when I have my car that I lease because I'm an adult now, I just am like, nah, if I just can get it home, we'll be fine. And my dad's like, it's not, you're not driving a tin can anymore. Stop doing this.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
Yeah, my first car was I've essentially had like hand-me-down cars for the
mm,
most part. This car is actually the one that I have now is the first car I've actually bought myself.
yeah,
Um, but the first car that my parents had let me drive back and forth to school was a '96 Dodge Stratus, and
nice.
that thing it was like it was just a tank in the snow. So
Yeah.
it was just one of like low. It was just a little sedan, nothing too crazy about it, but that thing could just go through anything.
Yeah,
And
my ours was a Subaru for the same because I lived at
mm,
my parents' house at the top of a really big hill, and they were like, "We need something that
yeah,
could like go off roading."
right, yeah. So my sister and I, that was like both of our first cars essentially. And we just both remember just loving that car because it could just, doesn't matter what kind of weather it had or we had. Um, then
Yeah, it's like
eventually
I'm good.
yeah, exactly. And my dad, he's always had Jeeps. So I eventually got a Jeep Cherokee when I was in college. But then there's one day where it's like electronics started failing, the heat wasn't working, and it was just one of those like, I need a car like now.
Yeah,
Like, uh, I was like kind of already looking because some electronics were stopped working, but then it was like kind of like that late March, early April kind of time frame where it's like you still kind of want the heat for the mornings.
yeah. I had a similar thing with the Buick where the windshield wipers went. They wouldn't turn on when you
Oh,
moved the thing. They would turn on randomly when you didn't turn them on.
mm-hmm.
They would get going so violently that I was driving on the highway with my boyfriend at the time, and it's Buffalo. It's Buffalo in March. It's
Mm-hmm.
fucking raining,
Yeah.
and my windshield wipers are going crazy fast. And I was again,
Mm-hmm.
I just need to get home and turn them off and just not think about this for a couple of
Yep.
days.
Yep.
Um, it is going so fast, the blade flew off. The
Gosh.
arm went too far where the little hook that you hook the blade on with was
Mm-hmm.
stuck on the like side by my driver's door and
Oh
the
my
blade flew
gosh.
off on the highway. And I was like, we have to get home now. Like, we are not
Mm-hmm.
making any stops, and I'm just going to drive as carefully as physically possible
Mm-hmm.
because we're down a windshield wipe.
Jeez.
Oh, but I loved that car. I loved it
Mm-hmm.
so much. It was my baby. Oh, you could fit a body in the trunk. It was the greatest car.
I almost
Uh,
had to take my driver's test in our giant Chevy Astrovan because that was like our nicest car at the time. So
yeah.
here's 14, 15-year-old me learning how to try and parallel park this massive van. It was awful, the worst time possible. And
Yeah.
then like we find like this the person we're gonna go and test, it's like, oh yeah, it's like, because we had heard like, oh, you got to make sure like all your all these lights are off on the dash and all that. And the car that I had been driving, that Dodge Stratus, because it
Yeah.
was so old at the time, this is it was a '96 and this is 20 or 2010.
Yeah,
2011, something like
some
that.
light is on. I don't
Exactly.
know why, but a light is
Well,
on.
it was always like the check engine light because
Yeah.
it's just one of those dummy lights, and that's exactly what this guy, like the guy who we took out our driver's test from, he was just like, oh yeah, I don't care about those dummy lights because it's just one of those things like they're gonna be on for some stupid reason.
Yeah,
It's not like the
exactly.
car's gonna blow up. It's just like it's just like, hey, there's something odd going on.
Listen, as long as the check engine light isn't flashing, it's probably your car doing something dumb. Like, you're fine.
Exactly. Yeah. So unless you have a Subaru, which I found if they get low or low oil levels, um, I guess Subarus are just super sensitive to that kind of thing because that's the car I have now is a Subaru Impreza, and I always know when my oil's low because the check engine light comes on, the traction control light comes on, and the blinking cruise control comes
Yeah.
on.
Yep.
It's always those three, so I know it's like, oh, gotta top off the oil.
When we've had to get rid of, oh, the windshield wiper must happen in the fall, I guess. Either way, it's still Buffalo, it's still raining.
Right.
Because I was studying abroad in London and my dad texted me and was like, there's no fucking point in doing this. Your mom's getting a new used car. You're gonna take the Subaru Impreza up to Buffalo because it will be able to handle Buffalo, and like
Yep.
it's newer and we'll deal with it later. And then when I was moving here, my dad was like, it's not going to pass the smog test in California. He was like, even if you could convince me that letting you drive your car out to California is a good idea, it's not going to pass the smog test. It wasn't
Mm,
made there. It's old. Like, it's not going to pass.
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
crushed. um, and I don't love my Toyota, but I don't know enough about cars to like really have an opinion. Cause like
Mhm.
I really want like a vintage like 1970s Ford truck. Just cause I
Okay.
think it looks cool.
Hmm.
I just like the shape. I like the way it looks. Like
Yeah.
it's the only thing that I will be like, Stephanie Meyer, I get why you made this Bella's car in Twilight. It's a really cool car. And like
Hmm.
that is a thing that like a quirky teenage girl would love having an orange
Right.
1970s Ford pickup. Like uh it's just all aesthetic shit is why I
Hmm.
like them. Like for a really long time, I really liked Mustangs, and I wanted a Mustang just because of the vibe.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you shit about a Mustang.
Yeah, I'm not hugely into cars either, but like the biggest reason I wanted a Subaru is because all-wheel drive, and like here in
Mhm.
Michigan, we have just I mean, for one thing, our road conditions are just terrible. Just to
Yeah.
begin with, we have potholes everywhere, and then just the winter can get so bad sometimes. So that Jeep Cherokee I was driving, sometimes you would put it into four-wheel drive because it was a 2000 Cherokee,
Mhm.
so it didn't have like you hit a button and it's in four-wheel drive. You had to actually pull a lever,
Yeah.
but sometimes that lever it like wouldn't click into four-wheel drive, so you would think you're in four-wheel drive but you're still in two-wheel drive. So that's why after I had that experience, I'm like, I don't want a four-wheel drive car, I want an all-wheel drive car so I don't have to
Yeah.
worry about that ever again.
That's the only thing that I knew about cars was that like when I was living
Mm,
in New York, I wanted all-wheel drive. I didn't want to have to put it into four-wheel drive. I
mm,
need the simplest shit on the planet here. Like,
yep.
and then doesn't matter at all here. I don't want to go
Yeah.
off-roading, so it does not matter
Yep.
in California.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for my brother-in-law because he like loves cars and no one in my
Mhm.
family gives a shit about cars. There is no one in my family that cares, and he tries to talk
Mhm.
to me and my sister about it, and we don't mean to, we just glaze
Just a
over.
smile and just a nod. Yep. Uh-huh.
Like, oh god, it's like we are the worst example of our dad always did it for us. So like I don't know. I don't know how to do these things because my dad just
Mm,
does it. And not even on the like, LeighErin's never going to do it, so I'll just do it. It's that he's doing it to his own car and just does it to everybody's. So I don't
mhm,
know how to look for like what my tire pressure should be. I don't know how to fucking tell what my tire pressure is. Like,
mhm,
this is outside my pay grade. But yeah, after that whole tire debacle, we recorded and I looked at Jordan and went, I'm going to the dispensary because I need something after the morning I
mhm.
have had. Um, and did you listen to the Kind of Funny podcast where Tim and Joey were talking about the Vanderpump Rules drama?
I haven't yet. No.
A, I highly recommend it. Listening to
Mhm.
Tim explain a 10-year-long reality show plot to give you context for something that was big on Twitter was one of the funniest
Mhm.
things I've ever seen in my life. Because I had never watched Vanderpump Rules before,
Mhm.
but for some reason, rich people cheating on their wives is like crack to me. Like, it's
Mhm.
just because, like, why? Why? It can't be good enough that you're like, yeah, let me throw my entire fucking life and career away. Like,
Mhm.
maybe I'm
Right.
just a cold person, but I don't think there's anyone on the planet that I'd be like, yeah, I'm willing to risk everything I've worked
Everything.
for.
Right.
Like, that was the same thing after, like, when it came out that one of the Try Guys was cheating on his wife with an employee for like a year. I was like, you
Mhm.
have been working at this company for 12 years. Like, you
Mhm.
just threw all of that away and a
Yep.
10-year marriage away for what? For what? Like, because they're not even together anymore. Like, it's not
Right.
like you're, oh, I found my soulmate and like, good lord. So basically a guy cheated on his
Mhm.
like girlfriend of 9 years with her best friend, which is wildly fucked up. That's just like
Oh yeah.
absolutely a mess. And I was like, you know what? The reunion has come out where they're all talking about this. I've never watched the show before, but because of Tim Geddes, I have enough context that I can turn on this reunion. And I turn on the reunion and I'm watching it. We get to the point where the guy, Tom Sandoval, is like, well, if Ariana really wanted to know if I was cheating on her, when I said I was coming to your house and I was actually going to Raquel's, she could have followed me. I was like, I love it. I'm in. I get why Tim Geddes loves this show. That is an insane thing for a man to say.
Oh
That
yeah.
is wild. And so I was like, you know what? I love shit reality TV. The one show that I let myself watch has ended. It's not on anymore. I don't
Mhm.
have a reality show that I watch. I got Peacock. I'm going to watch Vanderpump Rules.
Nice.
It is such empty head crack, Alec. I have already watched the entire first season. It's so,
Mhm.
it is just rich, pretty people in California working at a really expensive restaurant. So it's all the best parts of nostalgia I have from being a bartender and being a waiter,
Mhm.
mixed with just adults that have had everything in life handed to them because they're rich and pretty being met with like the tiniest of inconveniences. It's insane. There is a 23-year-old girl who like 8 different times throughout 4 episodes is like, I'm 23 years old. I shouldn't be dealing with this in relationships anymore. I've been in enough serious relationships to know better. You're 23 years old. Shut the fuck up.
Right.
Why are you pressuring your boyfriend for marriage? You're 20. He's 33, which is weird, but I'm not even going there.
Okay.
But you're 23 years old. Why are you pressuring someone for marriage? You're
Mhm.
23. Like, I always flash back to that Broad City clip that's like, I'm 27 years old. What am I, a child bride? Like, what are you doing? But it's my favorite thing. It's so,
Mhm.
they're all ridiculous. And I love it because I used to, you know this, but for anybody who doesn't know, I used to want to be an actor. My goal was to move to California to be an actor. And I watched the show and I'm like, this is why I decided I don't want to be an actor anymore. I cannot handle people like this. I cannot
Mhm.
handle they're showing the guy from the cheating scandal, Tom Sandoval, when he was like 20 something years old, taking an hour to get ready. I take an hour to get ready, but my hair is over a foot long. Like,
Mhm.
I got really long hair and I have to put on makeup. Why are you taking an hour to do your hair? And you have short hair. You don't have like,
Mhm.
because there's another
Yeah.
guy that works there named Peter who has hair like Jordan. And so when
Mhm.
he's like, yeah, I take a while to get ready in the morning, it's like, you got hair, like long
Yeah,
hair
it
that's
makes sense.
curly that you have to deal with. I can't hand and then like they get into that he doesn't open his mail, so he had traffic tickets that he didn't know about that he hadn't paid, so his license got suspended and he didn't know. So then he's just using his girlfriend as like a chauffeur. And I was like, this is why. This is why I came here and I went, I don't want to be an actor. I don't want to live in LA.
Mhm.
My lord. It's so I can't but it's so fun to watch because it's such low stakes. You
Oh,
guys
for
aren't worried
sure.
about
Yeah.
making rent. You're not worried about like shit. Like they all sit there and say they make, nothing. And I mean, yeah, rent in California is expensive, but this was in like 2007. It's not as expensive as it is now.
Right. Right.
Like if you guys weren't going out drinking every night, you'd be perfectly fine. But it's so I will never talk shit about people who like reality television, with exceptions. If you like Toddlers and Tiaras in the year of our Lord and Savior 2023, I have concerns. But
Mhm.
things like The Bachelorette and Vanderpump Rules, I'm like, or like Real Housewives, I'm like, I don't want to watch them, but I get it now. I get it.
Mhm.
It's like it's I don't want us getting more reality television this fall like we are because of the fucking writer's strike. But I get it. And I think if
Mhm.
we just sit with like the ones that came around from the 2007 writer's strike, like Vanderpump Rules, Real Housewives, etc., I feel like we are in a place now where you cannot make a new reality show. There are not You
Yeah.
can continue reality shows that are already going, or you can revive reality shows, but you cannot make a new one. It
Yep.
just it doesn't work. Like, I don't know if you saw the advertising all over Twitter for like MILF Manor on TLC.
Oh yeah. It's some of those things like Twitter. There's like 5 ads.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't whenever I get certain like reality show ads, I'm like, what am I searching that you guys are
Right.
putting in when you're doing the
See,
ads that I'm triggering?
that's the thing. I don't think it's that anymore, at least on Twitter, because of
Well,
Elon
yeah.
just messing everything up. I think Twitter's like, hey, here's just these ads that people have paid us tons of money for. So it doesn't matter what you've searched.
Here are
Here you
just
go.
ads. um it's like I make fun of my dad all the time that he's like screwed our searches on now Max, but was Discovery Plus.
Mhm.
But he screwed up our searches because there's a show on Discovery Plus that my dad loves, which is a bunch of different like dogs that work for different armed forces and police forces do
Mhm.
challenges to see who's the best dog. My dad loves this show. It's the
Mhm.
purest shit on the planet. It is just dogs having the time of their fucking life. And it now I get all of these like army geared reality shows because my dad watches these
Oh.
shows, and I get all these ads on Hulu and Discovery Plus that are like the one that just came out where they took a bunch of celebrities and were like, we're gonna put you through the training that
Oh yeah, like
like
the Navy
Marines
SEALs.
go through. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is wild.
Hmm.
Men and just men. I don't think women are allowed to go through that kind of training in the actual armed forces. Or are they not allowed to be SEALs?
That could be it, because I think they do have like women celebrities on that show.
Yeah, there's one. It must be the SEALs because I know there's one like special forces team in the military that women aren't
Hmm.
allowed on.
Gotcha.
Um, but regardless, the
Hmm.
people who go through that training, awesome, amazing that you're able to go through that kind of shit and keep a clear head.
Hmm.
It's great. If I am fucking Candace Cameron Burr, I am known for being on Full House and its shitty, shitty, shitty reboot on Netflix. Why the fuck am I asking to go through this?
Right.
Like, I don't understand what the athletes that are on it. I get it. You've already hit the top of your profession.
Oh yeah,
You
you're
can't,
retired from the game. Like, you
you're
want to see
looking
if you
for the
can do
next
this
thrill.
anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, oh, hi. Can you not sit on my tablet? Can I have this? Thank you. You can sit anywhere else, just not on my tablet. Thank you.
It's shiny.
Yeah, like it's my tablet and the case I have for my laptop, my work laptop. She just loves to
Hmm.
sit on. I'm like, you have beds all over my home. Um, but yeah, I'm like, why would you want if you're just like one of them was just the only thing she is known for is losing Colton's season of The Bachelor and then being on The Bachelorette. And they're like buckling her into a Jeep and putting it underwater. I'm like, ma'am, why are you doing this to yourself? And
Right.
she's like having a
Yeah.
mental break about it. Understandably, I'm not shitting
Oh
on her for
yeah.
that. But I'm like, why did you choose to put yourself in this position? Like, I'm a bitch. I would not be able to handle what Special Forces Marines
Mhm.
do. So I'm not going to put myself in that position because I know I'm a bitch. Like, what are we doing here? You're back. You're like, yeah, you're a fucking
It's
bitch.
it's one of those things like people just think they have something to prove for themselves.
I
Like,
need everyone listening. You have nothing to prove to anyone. No one else. Human beings are selfish as shit. None of us care. And if somebody doesn't like you and wants to talk shit about you, they're going to use anything you do to prove yourself as another reason to be like, oh, this is using Vanderpump Rules as an example. One of the girls books like, I don't know, singing at some club here.
mhm.
And a bunch of people go expecting her to fail and make fun of her. She doesn't, so they find other reasons to be a fucking asshole to her. Like, don't put yourself through mental torture because you think you need to prove something or you want Instagram followers. It's not worth it. It's just
Mhm.
not. It's not worth it.
Just go and do the Masked Singer then. Like, that's literally what that show
Yeah.
is. It's like, what celebrity's fallen out of the public eye?
Yeah,
That's
who can we that and like Dancing with the Stars is
that
like
too.
another
Yeah,
one where
like
it's
those
like,
kind of shows. Yeah, like
yeah. I feel like whenever a celebrity is going on their like redemption tour, Dancing with the Stars or
oh
Masked
yeah.
Singer now is always on that and I love it because
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things that I feel like puts in a stark divide how people like our age and younger look at celebrities and how people
Mm-hmm.
older than us look at celebrities because like compare it to like a YouTuber, like a YouTuber who got in like really big trouble, like Gus Johnson, who got like he did some terrible things to his
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend and now doesn't have a platform. If he went on fucking Dancing with the Stars, no one our age, none of his old supporters would be like, yes, I want to hear what you have to say on Dancing with the fucking
Mm-hmm.
Stars. And then you can come back to YouTube and have a career. Like,
Right.
it's just like I can't think of like what a successful redemption tour for like a YouTuber or someone who's more popular with like the younger demographics, like
Mm.
not that he would ever need one, but like a Pedro Pascal, like what their redemption tour would look like because going on Dancing with the Stars would not be it. That would not be how you
Yeah.
win people back.
I mean, I'd say the successful one, like actually, I think it was actually the first season of Masked Singer was T-Pain. Like
Oh yeah.
he was the winner there, and it's like he's basically showing like, hey, I'm not just auto tune. Like I can actually sing.
Which I was impressed to learn. And like
Oh,
that's a big thing out of the time that he was a musician. Autotune was new, we all loved it.
mhm. Yeah. So like, and like he's even come out with like some really good like a cover album, and like so it's like that actually worked for him. Like a lot of times these redemption arcs they start on these shows and they don't go anywhere, but like for him it was like the
This
Masked Singer kind of like struck gold on that first season or two, but then it's one of those they just kept pumping it out like Dancing with the Stars. They had like 2 seasons a year. It's like we
yeah.
don't need that much. We don't need it that much.
And I feel like this is a similar thing where it's like you don't have to prove yourself to people. As T-Pain wasn't going on there and being like, I'm not just auto-tuned but being shitty. He's like, no, I actually can sing and I know that. The
Mhm.
rest of you just don't know. And
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
like I'm not trying to prove anything. I already know I can sing, so I'm just
Mhm.
showing you. Which
Showing the
is
world
I
that.
think
Yeah.
the beauty of entertainment now is if you
Mhm.
have a talent, you can just put it out. Like
Yeah.
independent music actually means something where like you
Mhm.
can make your own albums and release them on Spotify, I
Yeah.
think.
That SoundCloud.
Yeah. I want to say SoundCloud because there's such a like negative connotation to like SoundCloud
Yeah.
rappers.
Yep.
Um oh god. I That's also one of the things for the from like the 2010s that I'm a little nostalgic for is whenever you would
Mhm.
go into a strip mall, there was someone you went to high school with trying to hand out their rap CD. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? There was one
Mhm.
guy, he would come to the bars too and like try to hand it out at the bars. I'm like, this is an even worse idea because I'm gonna lose this. Like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna set this down on the bar to pay the bartender and forget it's there. And like
Yeah.
these are all just gonna end up thrown out. Wow, you're really mad
Yeah.
about this. You're really just gonna sit here and pout. Like, goddamn. She's
You
just staring
take
at
away the
me.
shiny. Yeah.
Like, oh
Uh,
god. Alrighty.
well, that's on that note. we're gonna wrap it up here. This is a nice one. Getting to talk about some of our car trauma and reality shows. So yeah, that's it was a good, nice little easy one. We got a bunch of stuff coming up. So like LeighErin said, we have our new project, New Rollers, that just came up. I say just at this when this uploads, it'll be a couple weeks ago, but be sure to check that out. We've got a lot of reactions that are coming up and being posted. So we got, the PlayStation Showcase that happened, Summer Games Fest. We're going to have Xbox Showcase and Starfield Direct reactions. So stay tuned for all that. And yeah, just a lot of stuff coming up. Hit that notification bell.
We're getting into the bad times. We're getting into the June bad times.
Yeah, that's why we were taking it a bit easy this week and pre-recording this. So, yeah. All right. Goodbye.